Welcome once again to Supa Lifecoach. It's me, your friend, your sister, and Wanyeki. Today I want to talk about abandonment issues because we are looking at the stronghold of abandonment, and they are both perpetrators and victims in this particular stronghold. So the way abandonment operates, it's either you are the victim or you are the perpetrator. People with abandonment issues struggle with a deep fear of being hurt, rejected, or even abandoned. Usually, a fear of abandonment develops in responses to specific painful or traumatic experiences like childhood abuse, neglect, or the loss of a loved one in death or something of that kind. Abandonment issues are closely linked to insecure attachment styles, which are characterized by difficulty forming close, stable relationships with others. So, meaning attachment styles are characterized by difficulties when it comes to forming close, stable relationships with others. So, abandonment issues are closely linked to what I'm calling insecure attachment styles. If you or a friend or even a relative is struggling with abandonment issues, it is good to seek therapy so that you can be able to move forward. So if you're currently in a relationship that is being affected by your abandonment issues, consider also seeking out for therapy so that you can find help. Fears of abandonment can usually be traced back to specific painful experiences of being betrayed, hurt, or abandoned by someone. Often abandonment issues stem from early childhood traumas involving a parent or even a caregiver, like a house girl, houseboy, etc. Early interactions between a child and their parent or their caregiver that impact all aspects of a child's physical, cognitive, social, and emotional development. And abandonment issues stemming from childhood often persist into adulthood. When parents and caregivers respond in consistent, warm, attentive ways to the feelings and the needs of the children, children develop a secure attachment and are able to develop normally. A secure attachment style represents a person who learns to trust and open up to others. They are responsive and warm to others and can form healthy, close relationships. But when this does not happen, the child remains in a state of chronic stress and fear, even stunting growth. Their development is stunted and preventing specific socio-emotional milestones from being reached, and this can lead to the development of an insecure attachment style. Attachment styles are relevant to several aspects of a child's development, and they continue to impact a person across their lifespan. Attachment styles affect a person's ability to develop healthy, trusting relationships and to be connected with others. Attachment styles also influence the way that a person perceives themselves and others, helping them form the core beliefs that inform their actions and choices. So the ability to communicate feelings, wants, and even needs is also influenced by the attachment styles. And the same way, a person also responds to conflict and stress based on their attachment style. And all this happens in childhood. An early childhood interaction between the child and their caregiver is a primary determinant of whether a person develops a secure or insecure attachment style. So there are three distinct types of insecure attachment styles. Each of the insecure attachment styles is believed to stem from a relational trauma, and more specifically from an early interactions with caregiver who were unresponsive, unpredictable, or even abusive. Each insecure attachment style features distinct patterns of behavior, defense mechanisms, and ways of coping with the fear of abandonment. The first one is called avoidant attachment style. People with an avoidant attachment style tend to cope with abandonment issues by not allowing people to get close to them and not opening up and trusting others. They may be characteristically distant, private, or withdrawn. They often fear commitment and avoid conflict by shutting down, leaving, or even ending the relationship. Second one is called anxious attachment style. People with anxious attachment style cope with fears of abandonment by holding on to others and developing intensely close and dependent relationships. They often are needy, persistent, and have difficulty separating themselves from their partner in healthy ways. They tend to be emotionally reactive, interpreting conflict or arguments as a signal that their partner will leave them, and engaging in fear-based behavior to avoid being abandoned. They fight in a very unreasonable way when there is an argument or a conflict because they are afraid that their partner will leave them. That is from the anxious attachment style. They are afraid of being left. So they will fight in an unreasonable way over a conflict or even an argument. The other one is called disorganized attachment style. People with a disorganized attachment style, they tend to be uncomfortable with intimacy and closeness and often lack empathy. This attachment style is distinguished by inconsistencies in the way a person behaves and responds in relationships, sometimes exhibiting features of either anxious or even avoidant styles. So the disorganized attachment is sometimes associated with antisocial behavior, narcissistic behavior, borderline personality traits, and even can become borderline personality disorders. Abandonment issues show up in a person or in their relationship, and tend to impact even more in relationships that are romantic in nature, where people with abandonment issues are more likely to have developed specific defense mechanisms that make it difficult to form close and healthy relationships. So the particular types of defense mechanisms a person with an abandonment issue develops can be different from one person to the other based on their attachment style. In children, abandonment issues often show up as anxiety, especially when separating from a caregiver. Children with abandonment issues may be more easily upset and often have difficulty regulating their emotions. They may exhibit negative attention-seeking behavior and even have outbursts or even tantrums. When you see a child exhibiting attention-seeking behavior, or they have outbursts or tantrums, or they are becoming showing anxiety, they're becoming anxious when they are being separated from a caregiver. Maybe mom has dropped them somewhere and mom wants to go away and the child is so anxious. That's a sign of abandonment issues. The children can either also demonstrate avoidant or antisocial behaviors, for example, withdrawing from their peers or bullying others. They might also be either very fearful of adults or overly trusting, where they develop very fast dependencies. They can develop very fast dependencies on somebody. Adults with abandonment issues will display similar unhealthy patterns in their relationships, where some will push away people, withdraw and avoid trusting or even opening up to people. Others will become overly needy in relationships and will develop patterns of codependency, relying on the other person to meet all of their emotional needs. Others with abandonment fears will allow people to get close, but become volatile, aggressive, or emotionally reactive with their partner when they feel threatened or upset. And each of these distinct patterns represents a specific type of an insecure style of attachment. Experiencing abuse, neglect, or even traumatic loss of a loved one is the most common cause of abandonment issues, especially when these occur early in childhood. It is generally believed that the first year of life is specifically very impactful to a child's development, and that a child's attachment style is formed by the age of 5 years of age. So abandonment issues which begin in childhood are almost always the result of adverse childhood experiences which describe different styles of stressful and even traumatic experiences in children. So these experiences can lead to the development of negative beliefs about oneself and others that form the basis of insecure attachments and abandonment fears. These beliefs can include self-worth issues like believing one is unlovable or unworthy, beliefs that others are untrustworthy, or believing people will always end up leaving, And these core beliefs are internal working models which drive insecure attachment patterns even in adulthood. Some of the childhood experiences that can lead to abandonment issues and insecure attachment styles include, for example, having a caregiver who is neglectful or unresponsive to the feelings and the needs of the child. And this is more likely to lead to an avoidant attachment style. Having a caregiver who is physically or emotionally abusive or intimidating to the child. Having a caregiver who is inconsistent, sometimes warm and attentive, and other times cold and unresponsive or abusive, and more likely this will lead to the anxious attachment style in a child. Another one is being the victim of sexual abuse, especially as a child or a teen, or having a caregiver who is separated or absent. For example, death of a parent can cause abandonment issues in a child. If, for example, the parent is taken to jail, in prison for a long period of time, or a parent who is not an active caregiver, the mom is busy, the dad is not available, all those kind of things can cause abandonment issues in children. Abandonment fears can be caused by any of these experiences and are not always the direct result of one particular event, but instead a pattern of not consistently meeting a child's physical and emotional needs. Sometimes this is caused by certain environmental factors or circumstances instead of parenting deficits. So there are some environmental things that can also cause children to develop emotional fears. These environmental and social risk factors include things like being exposed to violence in the community or within the home, coming from a low socioeconomic status, or being a minority. These are things that can affect children and they develop abandonment fears. Children who are raised in adoptive families or who are placed in foster care, children's homes, and so on, also often struggle with fears of abandonment and insecure attachments. Even children from loving, stable homes could have developed abandonment issues if a parent was frequently working or traveling, or if one parent struggled with a chronic health or mental health condition. So while experiencing trauma in childhood, it is more likely to lead to insecure attachments. Experiences later in life may also cause insecure attachments and abandonment fears. For instance, being in an emotionally, physically, or sexually abusive relationship, being cheated on or betrayed, or experiencing rejection as an adult, all these could trigger abandonment fears. And these fears are probably already there because of something that happened to this particular adult in their childhood. While not everyone who has these experiences will go on to developing abandonment issues, some and most of people will have those issues. So this happens when the person's unresolved trauma from one relationship is carried over and impacts a person's future relationship. That you've gone through a relationship, it didn't end well, you did not end it properly. So when you go into another relationship, you carry the weight and the pain of the past relationship, and that continues to form more and more abandonment issues. So if you have a friend, a loved one, a family who is struggling with abandonment issues, it is good for them to seek professional counseling. So some of the signs that could indicate that somebody should seek for counseling include, number one, difficulty forming close romantic relationships or friends. Another one is intense anxiety about commitment that impacts a significant relationship. Another one is difficulty being open, vulnerable, or trusting others because of past experiences. The other one, intense emotional responses towards a partner during conflict, disagreements, or when engaging in separate activities. Those kind of intense emotional responses towards somebody when you have a conflict or a disagreement. Another one is patterns of choosing partners who are abusive, controlling, needy, emotionally unstable, or unavailable. You realize that many times you're choosing partners who are abusive, who are controlling and needy, who are emotionally unstable or emotionally unavailable. It's an indicator that you need to seek professional help. Patterns of unhealthy communication, conflict, styles or behaviors that damage or end important relationships is a sign that you need help. Consistent feedback from others that you are too needy, emotionally unstable, or reactive. If people keep telling you that you're too needy, that you're emotionally unstable or reactive, then you need to seek help. A pattern of losing yourself in relationships, changing important parts of your life or behavior or personality to be loved or accepted by a partner. You forget yourself, you sell yourself into a relationship. It's a sign that you have an abandonment issue. You need help. An inability to tolerate any degree of independence or separation in relationships. When you have a partner and they want to take some time off, they want to go somewhere, you have to keep checking where they are. You cannot be able to tolerate any degree of independence or separation in a relationship. That could be an issue to do with an abandonment problem. Another one is perceiving any disagreement or critical feedback or issues in a relationship as a sign that the person will leave or the relationship will end. Another one, significant past traumas or unhealed emotional wounds that continue to bother you or impact your relationships or behavior in unwanted ways. So, if you have any of those, it's time to begin to look for help, because this can form a cycle and you will continue struggling in your relationships. If you know somebody who has exhibited any of those things that I've mentioned, just let them know that they have abandonment issues and they need help. So when I come back, we'll give you ways on how to overcome abandonment issues, how to demolish that particular stronghold and set yourself free. Thank you, and see you later.